The Texas housing market is crashing and the rest of the country may be next. At this stage, ignoring the clear data coming out of the southern states is impossible to ignore. While there are plenty of counties and cities up here that would make you think that the housing market is still red hot, the dramatic situation unfolding down here foreshadows what is about to happen in the rest of the country, starting in the south and spreading up north. We've already talked about Florida in my last video, but there is more to this story just west of the Sunshine State, and it's a story that's being mostly ignored by the national media. Starting in 2022, Texas was the first place in the country where we saw observable declines in real estate. Before anybody even mentioned the word crash, it was here in Austin that things began to spiral down. Just like the rest of the country, Austin experienced a dramatic rise in prices starting around March of 2020, but here the growth was exponential, something that we've never seen before. A typical Austin home in March of 2020 would have cost you around $417,000, with rates hovering around 3.3% at the time. This home would cost a typical buyer around $2,300 a month. By June of 2022, this market chart was resembling a meme coin. It was growth that was cartoon-like. In just over 2 years, that same typical Austin home was $695,000 or $4,500 a month. This is a 45% increase in price and a 95% increase in payment. Given how rapidly this bubble inflated, it wasn't a massive surprise to see the city begin to pop first. But what most people don't understand is that the crash in Austin has already happened. And it continues to get worse as we speak. Prices as of March 2025 have fallen 21% since this 2022 peak. By all measures, this is a crash on par from what we saw in 2008. Back then, the Case-Shiller decreased 27%, so from the perspective of the '08 crash, we are a mere 7% away from matching that severity, and things are not getting better, they are getting worse. For 33 straight months, prices here have declined, and this trend doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. If we look at inventory levels, which sort of give a glimpse into the future, you can see while the number of homes for sale is not at a peak just yet, it almost certainly will be later this summer. Inventory is very seasonal, so right now we are in the low season. Given that we typically see peaks anywhere from July to October, it's very likely that coming off this recent winter high, we will see Austin inventory break another record, outpacing anything we've seen since 2017, which is when Realtor.com started tracking the inventory number here. Many people, including figures like Dave Ramsey, like to quote that the reason we are seeing prices stay stable or even go up in recent times is simply because there are too many buyers and not enough houses. There's a housing shortage, and for years this was true and still is true on the national level, but here in Texas, that storyline is long gone. Take a look at this striking chart from Resi Club. It might seem a bit complex at first, but it makes one thing clear. Texas is operating on a completely different level from the rest of the US housing market. The number of homes for sale in Austin compared to the pre-COVID level, which is now 6 years ago in March of 2019, is 38% higher. Think about that for a second. There are now more homes on the market here than there were before the big bubble even started, and the same is true in San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. So things are just not looking good for Texas, and it's not just Austin. This is happening throughout this small area on the eastern side of the state. Zillow is forecasting that some of the biggest declines this year will happen throughout the Texas Triangle, with Houston and Dallas expected to experience severe declines. And this is coming from Zillow, who you would think is inclined to predict higher prices year after year. Their outlook for 2025 is the bearish the company has been in 15 years. And for good reason. Just look at declines over the past year. This is another Resi Club chart showing Austin leading the pack with San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston not too far behind. Now you might be thinking, sure, Texas has seen some home price dips before, so why is this any different and could it actually spread? Here's why it's different. Take a look at the S&P 500. The stock market is flashing warning signs. We're not just dealing with a local real estate slowdown, we're staring at the early stages of a much bigger economic shift. The US is essentially beginning a new kind of conflict with China. Not with missiles, but with tariffs. A 150% tariff that doesn't just target goods, but sends a message: pick a side. This isn't a typical trade policy, it's a form of economic warfare, and as Warren Buffett once put it, tariffs like this are an act of war. If these policies stay in place, it signals an overnight decoupling from one of our biggest trading partners. That means higher prices, broken supply chains, and economic uncertainty that could ripple across everything, including housing. Texas isn't just reacting to local overbuilding or rates, it's reacting to a tectonic shift in global confidence. Think of the global economy as a basketball court. For decades, the US ran the game. It built the court, made the rules, and dominated with help from its allies. Then China showed up. The US let them play, overlooking their potential and hoping they'd follow the same rules. But China studied the game, copied the playbook, and even took some of the US's best moves, sometimes without asking. Soon, China was winning, dominating even. The US, once the undisputed MVP, started to feel threatened. It accused China of cheating, stealing plays, bending the rules, and flooding the court with subsidized players. So the US made a bold move. It walked off the court, built a new one with stricter rules, and told its teammates, "You're either playing with us or you're out." This is the world of tomorrow. It's a new global economy, and this hasn't been reflected in the markets just yet. You can sense just how serious this all is when Ray Dalio, the founder of the biggest hedge fund ever, goes on TV and says he's worried about something worse than a recession. Let's just take a quick look at this recent interview and tell me what you'd expect for housing in general in the years to come if this is what he's saying.
Welcome back, and joining me now is Ray Dalio, the founder of the world's largest hedge fund, Bridgewater Associates. He is also the author of the new book, How Countries Go Broke. It's out in June. Mr. Dalio, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you. Good to be here. Just call me Ray.
Okay, well, Ray, I'll take you up on that. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your perspective. As I just said, you did found the world's largest hedge fund. I want to ask you about something that's on a lot of people's minds, your predictions for the future. And I want to start with the R word. I know you think this is just a piece of it. Of course, I'm talking about a recession. Do you think it is likely that the United States will dip into a recession because of President Trump's tariffs?
I think that right now we are at a decision-making point and very close to a recession. And I'm worried about something worse than a recession if this isn't handled well. A recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP, and whether it goes slightly there, we always have those things. We have something that's much more profound. We have a breaking down of the monetary order. We are going to change the monetary order because we cannot spend the amounts of money, so we have that problem. And when we talk about the dollar and we talk about tariffs, we have that. We are having profound changes in our domestic order, how ruling is existing, and we're having profound changes in the world order. Such times are very much like the 1930s. I've studied history, and this repeats over and over again. So if you take tariffs, if you take debt, if you take the rising power challenging the existing power, if you take those factors and look at the factors, those changes in the orders, the systems, are very, very disruptive. How that's handled could produce something that is much worse than a recession.
So essentially, we have a couple of things moving the market. In Texas, things have not been going well since 2022, and now with no relief in sight, we are dealing with a potential recession that will have profound effects on the already growing inventory situation in the South. In fact, if we get a recession because of these recent tariff movements, the housing situation in the country could be worse than '08, especially in the southern states like Texas and Florida. Thank you guys for watching. As always, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to leave a comment, especially if you're a buyer or seller in the Texas markets.